Self-cleaning iron is only $40.98.
Now, those would save her time, wouldn't they?
They sure would.
And I wouldn't have to give her the afternoon off.
Canadian Tire lets you give like Santa and save like Scrooge.
Here's a great idea for Christmas gift giving. It's a Woodward's food gift basket. All kinds of Woodward's food baskets for Christmas, and the fruit baskets too. A beautiful idea. And here's something brand new. It's a smoked fillet of salmon, and you can send it anywhere in the world. It's hermetically sealed, so you don't have to worry about temperature control. Woodward's Food Floor, the other gift idea place at Christmas.
Woodward's has it all. BCTV, we're giving it all we got.
Good morning. I say with all the deference, humility, and respect that I can command that a broad view of the system of the administration of justice in Canada, certainly in British Columbia, is that it is chaotic. And we have more laws than we have civil servants. So between lawyers and civil servants, there are only half a dozen people in the country who are actually productive workers. And there is a great industry in Canada to reform the law. We've just gone through this incredible charter debacle, and we watch judges changing our laws from day to day with their interpretation of the charter as we move towards the American system of more executive-type government. This morning, however, I have the perfect opportunity to whet some of my prejudice and bigotry against Mr. Justice Allen Linden, who is president of the Law Reform Commission of Canada, which is tackling little problems like euthanasia, aiding suicide, blood tests being forcibly taken from people, many other problems. And also, I think, aiming at trying to clean up the confusion in our system of justice. I'm going to interview Mr. Justice Linden shortly. And then, on a lighter and happier note, I'm going to do another Webster walkabout this morning with my very favorite social worker. Does more good than the Human Resources Department. May Gutteridge of St. James Social Service, who has a great gimmick for this Christmas. You're calling it the Gastown Baby?
Oh, yes, Gastown Baby.
Bears an astonishing resemblance to Cabbage Patch.
Oh, yes, but this is ours. This is handmade with loving hands, not in a factory.
And have you got thousands of them hidden in boxes in the back?
No, we take orders.
Orders?
Yes, with a down payment. With a deposit.
How much is that, the Gastown Baby?
$25. May the Lord forgive me.
$25, may the Lord forgive you.
I'm no good at selling.
Not much she ain't. But first, seriously, though, to my distinguished guest this morning, Mr. Justice Allen Linden, Law Reform Commission of Canada. After the break. Mr. Justice Linden is a former judge of the Ontario Supreme Court High Court Division, and he has been bold enough and perhaps unwise enough to take this impossible job of attempting to recommend reforms to which laws of Canada are you particularly interested in?
Well, our role, our mission is to look at the federal laws of Canada, the national laws, and to try and bring some sense and some order and some coherence and some logic into them.
Basically, therefore, we're going to talk about this morning about the criminal code and its implications.
Well, the criminal code is the heart of it, but there are other things as well.
And, of course, this dangerous, highly inhibiting Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
It's a wonderful charter, a magnificent structure for the nation.
Is it not bad, though, to put the right to interpret our laws into the hands of appointed judges, rather than leaving it in the hands of politicians whom, if we don't like the rascals, we can throw them out 4 years down the road?
No, I think the judges can do a better job of interpreting. The politicians have to write the laws, but then it's up to the judges to interpret them.
But the Charter gives them much more freedom to interpret the laws, does it not?
There's a potential there, but I think your judges in this country are a pretty careful group of people. I don't think very many of them are coming up with decisions that are not wise.
One simple question, if I may. This Charter, which you love so much,
I do,
says that every Canadian, every person has the right to retain and instruct counsel. Is there not something missing from that particular directive? Should it not say in brackets after that, providing you've got the money?
Providing you've got the money, or providing, as we have in this country, a legal aid system to supply the counsel.
We've got what?
Well, in most of the country. I understand you have some difficulties here in British Columbia.
Are you suggesting to me, sir, that on every charge under the Criminal Code, under the Charter, that each accused, if he is in any way short of money, must have a lawyer paid for him by the Crown, by the nation?
Well, in serious cases, I think the cases indicate that a person isn't being properly represented if he doesn't have a counsel.
What's a serious case, though? To me, a first charge impaired driving would be a terribly serious case, and yet in British Columbia, I wouldn't get legal aid.
No, I think it's a danger of going to prison, I think, is the standard, isn't it, that's being used?
In other words, if my liberty is threatened, so therefore some lawyer offhandedly has got to decide in legal aid, oh no, you're not going to go to jail, no lawyer. I come up in front of a judge and he gives me 2 years.
Well, I don't think you would get that.
But you agree with my point?
I think if the judge were thinking of giving you 2 years, he would probably ensure that you did have a lawyer to protect you.
Right, another very topical question to me. Is there a suggestion in front of, on the Charter, have we got a decision now that there can be a judicial review of all cabinet decisions?
Not of all cabinet decisions. The political decisions aren't going to be reviewed, but where the cabinet is acting like a court or like an administrative agency and making a judicial decision, it looks as though the Federal Court of Canada is exercising jurisdiction to supervise that.
To stretch it to its ultimate stupidity, if somebody if Canada had the bomb and somebody was going to press the button and we knew about it in advance, could a court review that decision?
It'd be a pretty hard one to review afterwards.
No, but I mean, that is a political decision.
I think so.
You couldn't interfere with that.
I think it'd be unlikely.
Is there a suggestion in front of your Law Reform Commission just now that the media not be allowed, or anybody allowed, to publish the names and charges against accused persons?
There's a debate going on. We aren't working on that particular problem right now, but most judges and most courts and most laws indicate that names can be published. But there are some people who think that perhaps the presumption of innocence should involve the non-publication of the name of an accused person unless and until he's convicted.
You wouldn't agree with that, would you?
Well, I have a decision of my own that I made in a very special circumstance where I did withhold the publication of the name of an accused. I thought it was a proper case for that.
Because of the lightness, because of the lack of strength in the charge?
No, it wasn't that. It was the protection of his family. He had a very odd name, and he was charged with a very embarrassing offense, which wasn't a very serious offense, but he had a wife in the hospital with a heart attack, and he had 2 daughters who were school teachers.
In other words, you made a humane decision on that occasion.
I think it was humane. Yeah.
But, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I must put it very bluntly, if all charges were banned for publication, there would be such an opportunity for improper behavior and dropping of charges without the public knowing, for instance, that a big shot politician or a big shot lawyer had ever been charged, and that would lead to corruption, moral corruption, if nothing else.
Well, there are dangers involved in it, but there are also advantages of protecting potentially innocent people from having their names plastered on the
One
newspaper.
simple question on a local basis. Do you think there should be a law, a specific law? This is the kind of question you may well be asked at your public meeting on Monday at 7:30 in the Robson Street
Courthouse.
thing. I see they call it the Great Hall.
The Great Hall of the Courthouse, yes.
7:30 on Monday. Do you think, in view of what happened in the Olson case, that ghastly mass murderer, that there should be a law to prevent the payment of blood money to accused or their relatives for the discovery of bodies or for any other reason?
No, we haven't got a position on that. We haven't made a study of it, but personally, I don't think any criminal should profit from his crime, and there ought to be a way of preventing criminals to make money out of their wrongdoing.
Especially any particularly gruesome murderer who wants to write his autobiography as he sits in his air-conditioned cell with his computer typing his book. You would stop that if you could.
If I had my way, I'd stop that.
Now to some more serious legal matters. What are the biggest the areas of problems you have? Are you going to look at the incredible, inordinate delays in the courts and the length that trials take?
This, I think, is the major problem of the criminal justice system in the country today, is delay and high cost. And we're looking for ways to try and simplify the law, to try and simplify procedures, to try and reduce the cost in order to see that justice is done relatively speedily and more efficiently than what it now is. And that's our prime thrust, I think.
Has the suggestion been made that we should wipe out these long, convoluted, and in effect secret proceedings called preliminary hearings? I can go to cases here where preliminary hearings have gone on for God knows how long, and suddenly there's a stay of proceedings. We can't report it, so we don't attend. But in some civilized countries, they do not have preliminary hearings, do they?
No, in Britain, they've pretty well done away with them, and we've been studying this question for 10 or 12 years. We're now trying to reduce the reliance on preliminaries. I don't think we can abolish them so easily, but the key thing is to give disclosure for the Crown to let the accused and the accused lawyer to know what the case is they have to meet, and we'd like to require that. And that then will make it unnecessary to have the preliminary inquiries, which is meant to determine what the case of the Crown is.
You mean we have preliminary inquiries just now, broadly speaking, because the Crown won't tell the accused the full case against him?
I think that was the rationale, yes, behind it.
And if you were able to influence the law so that the accused got the full case, you wouldn't need a preliminary.
You wouldn't need it as much. That's exactly right. And this is one of our hopes, is to convince the courts and the lawyers and the bar and everybody to accept that. And we think it would help speed up things and reduce the cost without sacrificing rights.
Oh, I've thought that for years. Wasted
You're a wise man.
Not that wise, but practical.
You agree with me.
I've been around a little bit. Mr. Justice Linden of the Law Reform Commission of Canada. Nice guy for a judge. After the break. It's not often I get a chance like this with one of the most distinguished judges in the country. And he can't find me in contempt, whatever I say to him.
Don't be so sure.
Anyway, it's Allen Linden of the Law Reform Commission. You have a very serious report on euthanasia, aiding suicide, and cessation of treatment. Have you come to firm recommendations on that?
We have. It's actually quite a conservative report. We've advocated that there should be no change in the law of euthanasia, that Canadians don't want to allow other Canadians to kill one another, even for compassionate reasons.
Agreed.
But we do want to move to allow the doctors some protection who allow people to die who are finished with their life, who are suffering badly, who have no desire to go on living, to allow them to pull the plug, so to speak.
Would that have to be kind of lucid consent prior to the crisis, or would that be a decision of the family and the doctor?
It could be either prior or at the time, but a medical decision, we suggest, in consultation with the family, with the consent of the person, if they're available, where no use is being performed by the service, where nobody is served, that the person should be allowed to go.
For instance, in Britain, there has been at least one prosecution on the publication of a book giving forms of suicide. Did you tackle that aspect? Should that be illegal in this country?
Well, attempted suicide has been legalized in this country. If a person wishes to take their own life, there's no law preventing that.
And if you survive, you can't be charged for attempted suicide.
You can't be charged, as you used to be able to about 10 years ago.
I remember.
But we still prohibit helping somebody to commit suicide. If you're giving them the poison or you're giving them the knife or the gun and helping them to do it, we've recommended in this report that you shouldn't be allowed to do that either. So it's just too dangerous. There's too many possibilities of abuse.
Agreed. But if a person makes a lucid consent in advance or fearing some major illness, would that the force of keeping the doctor off the hook?
Well, we think it would anyways, but we wanted to clarify the law and make it clear that the doctors would have nothing to fear if they did that.
All right. Have you any thought of going into this very topical question Now, I know it wasn't a simple case like it was presented in 3 paragraphs in the media, and I won't go into details, of where a victim refuses to testify, as in a rape case, that victim should be punished by, say, going to jail for 7 days or 6 months. Is that a bad law on the face of it?
It's a very, very tough
case.
question.
I'm not talking about the case.
It's a very, very tough question because we have to have the evidence of witnesses. A rape victim is a witness just like anybody else. And without the evidence, we can't convict criminals. That's our system. What do you do when someone refuses to testify? You can't just give them a kiss and let them go. We have subpoenas. We require people to come and testify. But then here's the rape victim, this poor young person or older person who's been raped, and she's afraid and she's nervous. What do? If you say you need not testify, the rapist can't be convicted. If you say you must and she refuses, what do? It's a very tough question. We're wondering whether we ought to study this.
Because a witness may have been threatened, maybe in any case, a witness may be in mortal fear.
Yeah.
And I've known cases in Vancouver where they're in mortal fear and where they have testified. Say it was a big drug case and I refused to testify and I have knowledge, I should go to jail for a couple of years.
Well, possibly. This is the problem, but we like to protect that by giving anonymity to the witness, not allowing their name to be circulated, giving protection, but we need the evidence.
Yeah, you need the in-court evidence.
Yes.
And it would be perfectly proper, and even I would agree with this, that witness's name must be totally protected every which way.
I would say so, yeah.
We have another burgeoning problem about this Young Offenders Act. My present misconception of it is that the system of which you are an integral part,
Yes, I am.
this massive $500 million a year cost to administer criminal justice. Yeah. I have a fear that I've lost the thread of thought. What were we talking
Criminal
about?
justice system and the cost of it, and rape victims was the last topic. I wasn't sure which one you were getting into, Mr. Webster.
Young Offenders Act.
Young offenders, right.
I have a fear that the system is about to set up a parallel whole panoply of courts, lawyers supplied, appeals right up the Supreme Court of Canada for those between the age of 12 and 17. Is that what the Young Offenders Act envisages?
I don't think it's quite as bad as all that, but there is a system that's separate for young people. We have felt that the young people deserve special treatment. There's hope for them. There's a softer treatment, more protective of young people. We've always had that, and we're just trying to improve upon that.
But what I'm saying is that you're going to formalize it so that every child over 12, there's no criminality under 12, is there?
No.
Must have a lawyer, must have a formal hearing, and then must go all the way up to appeals?
Well, not must go all the way up to appeals, but yes, they've got to have protection, and this is the act that's gone through Parliament. It isn't yet in force.
Yeah, because the provinces won't pay for it.
It's a costly thing, or at least we're worried it's going to cost a lot more money, and it will cost something. But again, Parliament of Canada has studied this question. They've taken advice. They think this would make a more humane and more rational system for young people.
It's just the cost that's fearsome, isn't it?
If you want rights cost money. Just like anything else. TV shows cost money, automobiles cost money, rights cost money too.
We've just got through a vast restraint crisis in British Columbia. We chop off legal aid, we chop off this and that, we chop off the next thing. Somebody's got to pay. Surely practicality must be addressed as well as perfection and civil liberties.
No, I think that's right. And you're balancing the cost of civil liberties and the value of civil liberties.
We have another Royal Commission, I suggest, which may a fine commission headed by a fine lawyer.
Fine British
What
Columbian.
is his name?
Paul Fraser.
Looking at this prostitution caper again. Do you know what's required, sir?
Do I know what's required for what?
Could you and I not write this
The
report?
cost, you mean?
No, not write this report in 5 minutes right now.
You might be able to. I would need a little more time, I think, than that.
The problem, sir, is to get hookers off the streets because they're a pest and a nuisance and upset many people, and we're not going to have whorehouses in this country, that's for sure.
Probably not.
So therefore, all we need, with due deference, respect, and humility, is a simple amendment to the criminal code that simple soliciting is an offense by male or female?
It is. That's in the code, Mr. Webster.
No, sir. No, sir.
Simple soliciting is
No,
an offense
sir.
by male or female.
All the judgments say that to get a conviction, the lady or man of the night has to grab you by the arm, take you away, force you into a place and perform a sexual act. Pressing and persistent.
Pressing and persistent is the definition of soliciting.
Well, we can't convict in that, I'm told in the courts here.
It is a problem, and one could easily amend the law to say that offering sex for money is soliciting.
In a public place.
In a public place, and that could resolve that in large measure. But it wouldn't make the whole problem go away, would it?
No, but it would hide it, sir, and the object of our society is to get rid of the sores on the surface. Is that not right?
Well, that's one object that one might advance.
You have a very interesting paper here which I don't quite understand. Criminal law. The commission, that's... How many are there on the commission?
The 5 full-time commissioners.
5.
5, yes. Excellent people,
Staff
all of
of
us.
50?
Something like that.
The commission
it's a big
proposes
job.
the codification of 7 excuses for conduct which otherwise would be criminal. Intoxication, automatism, physical compulsion, mistake, duress, and necessity. Are you suggesting that if people are drunk in certain circumstances, they're not guilty of an offense?
No, they don't get off the offense, but there are certain offenses that require an intent, and if you're drunk, you can't form the intent, you're not guilty of that offense, which requires the intent. You're guilty of a lesser offense.
That's right.
Instead of murder, it might be manslaughter.
That's right. If I'm drunk enough to kill you, but I don't know I've done it, I'll only get 7 instead of 10 or 15.
Possibly, yeah.
Right. Blood
You
test.
don't agree with that?
Well,
You think a person who's intoxicated ought to be treated in the same way as a person who understands what he's doing and intends it?
I've got to follow your line and say it depends on the state of intoxication. Does it not?
You're a softie too, aren't you?
What about, oh, by the way, if you ask what people wanted in British Columbia, you know, the first clamour that they would require from the Law Reform Commission,
No.
bring back capital punishment. I'm not talking about my own particular views, but that would be the first clamour, and that, of course, is...
There is an obvious feeling in the country that by bringing back capital punishment, something could be done. But the amazing thing is, you know, the murder rate hasn't gone up at all since 1975. It's actually gone down a little bit.
I suppose so, but anytime I am faced with the threat of death, I will do what the man with the gun tells me.
I guess we all would.
More with Mr. Justice Linden. This is good fun this morning. A lot of fun, Commissioner Canada, after the break. Am I correct, Mr. Justice Linden, that writs of assistance were actually what the Brits used in the Boston Tea Party?
Yes, they were. It's an ancient customs device to enforce the customs law. And we're now using it in this country to enforce the drug law.
Have they been stopped?
No, they haven't been stopped. There are no more being issued, but there are still, I think, a couple of hundred outstanding, and we've recommended that they be abolished.
A couple of hundred Mounties and customs officers. Some use them well and some don't use them all that well.
Well, we don't know. We don't have too much information about it.
We have an amendment to our Motor Vehicle Act in British Columbia, which we dealt with in passing yesterday, that blood tests can be taken now from suspected accused. Mm-hmm. Where does that stand in relation to federal law? Is there any federal law, or are you recommending or investigating a federal law on that aspect?
There isn't any federal law now, but we've just issued a report urging that we be allowed to take blood from unconscious people who are suspected of drunk driving, and to ask for blood, because you see, blood you can determine not only alcohol, but you can determine whether they're on drugs as well. We think this problem is a terrible problem of drunk drivers and people being killed and maimed, and we've just got to try and stop it. It's the most common criminal offense in the country.
Well, agreed entirely. In other words, you're saying that the police officer wouldn't take the test. No.
We have very strong safeguards. It has to be a qualified professional person, a doctor or a nurse or something like that. And there has to be samples taken, and there has to be a warrant to permit it, and there has to be reasonable ground to believe the person's drunk. And
just an unconscious suspect?
Yes.
How would you get the warrant quickly?
Well, we've recommended a system of telephone warrants, telewarrants, and you could phone up, give a judge the information, he could authorize you to do it over the telephone, and then you could fill out the forms afterwards to allow you to get the speed to do it.
The first thing that the defense counsel will say, they'll have to obey the law, is that they want a separate sample taken by their man at the same time as the doctor or the registered nurse took it, right?
Well, they will, but they won't get that, I don't think. We're recommending that a sample of the blood be given to the defendant if he wants it, but not a separate doctor or separate nurse. Well, of course, he could do it.
How
if
close
he
is
has
that
somebody
to
there.
becoming, in fact? I mean, we've got this law which presumably stands up under the Motor Vehicle Act. I don't know.
I think it's all right for the provinces to do it until the federal government moves in. And once the federal government moves in, then the federal law supersedes the provincial law. But I think the present minister is planning to bring this in the next month or two.
Who is the present minister?
Present
Justice?
minister is Mark McGuigan.
Oh, I thought he was external affairs minister. They've
No, he
changed
was.
so rapidly. It's very difficult to keep up with.
It's a hard job.
And most of them come from the East anyway. You see, we have no cabinet ministers
Very
in the West.
few
We have no
are.
representation at all, except for
Yeah.
one senator. Now, marijuana reform. I hate to mention the subject, but the Trudeau government's been tiddling about at the edges of it, sympathetically over maybe move it from here to there. Have you been asked, or have you done, any studies on the law reform to make marijuana legal?
No, we haven't done those studies. The Linden Commission made recommendations. It's over 10 years ago now, and the government is still considering them and still studying them and still trying to figure out what to do. It's not an easy problem.
It's not something that you can't involuntarily
Well,
involve yourself in these things, can you?
We could, but we feel we shouldn't duplicate. If there's been an impressive study like that done, then it's done.
I suppose we could finish this section of the program by saying, how many of your recommendations have in effect been put into law?
Well, so far there haven't been too many enacted into legislation, 4 or 5, but we're hoping that in this new package there are quite a number of our recommendations, and we hope that they'll see the light of day.
Now, you recommended the changes in the sex offences, didn't you?
Yes, we recommended those. The ones that went through weren't exactly what we recommended, but they were along similar lines.
In fact, rape is now aggravated assault of some description.
Sexual assault and aggravated sexual assault.
And
yeah.
you managed to meet all shades of opinion on that one, did you?
Well, you never quite can satisfy everybody, can you?
One last law, which when I was covering trials used to drive me crazy. Oh, divorce law you're not concerned about.
Well, yes, we've made a report quite a number of years ago on that, and there's going to be some reforms in the divorce law brought in January along the lines that we recommended. Such as this no-fault divorce idea. We're not exactly sure what the government is doing, but we think maybe a 1-year separation period will be sufficient to get a divorce.
I am informed authoritatively by a very distinguished lawyer in Vancouver, for instance, that one of the most incompetently drafted piece of legislation ever in the statute books in BC is the Family Relations Act. That's always provincial, not federal, is that correct?
Yeah, the property parts are dealt with in the provinces. The national part is the divorce part.
Yeah. It's funny we've got all this mix-up in our various systems of justice. We've got federal courts, which are suddenly important. We've got Supreme Courts of Canada, and then we've got administration of justice provincially. And should that not be cleaned up? Should it not be one large court, the whole thing?
I'm beginning to think a lot more and more about that we have so many different courts doing so many different things, and there is considerable confusion. There's division of responsibility, and this is one of the things that hopefully will go on in the new constitutional talks, but I think the country's a little tired of constitutional talks, but perhaps the next phase will
One of your
this.
PCCs strikes me as somewhat unnecessary, but I'm sure it may be raised at your public meeting, which is Monday night,
7:30 at the law courts.
the Great Hall, and you're taking briefs or questions?
Briefs and questions.
Just discussions.
Yes.
What is your opinion about present section 43 of the Criminal Code, which reads, every school teacher, parent, or person standing in the place of a parent is justified in using force by way of correction towards a pupil or child, as the case may be, under his care, reasonable in circumstances. You planning to wipe that out?
Well, we're thinking about it. It's the only place where assault can be justified in relation to children, and there is a problem of child abuse, and we're concerned that assault in the home and assault in the school might be abused too easily, and we're thinking about what to do, and that's one of the things we want to consult the public about.
Surely it's a question of reasonable behavior in the circumstances.
Yes.
You wouldn't suggest that a parent be prohibited from spanking his child in proper circumstances.
No, obviously there has to be discipline and a certain amount of spanking, but there's different kinds of spanking. What about a strap? What about a stick? What about a fist?
Shouldn't be done.
Shouldn't be done.
Not
So
in
we're
this
worried
society.
about that. What's
Not-
reasonable?
That's right. But
People
that's
have
always
different views, but-
surely that's always a test of what's reasonable. But you couldn't take away the right of a parent to spank his child.
I don't think so. But could you take away the right of a teacher to spank his child?
In today's society, you probably have to, because the teachers themselves were brought up without spanking and never touched the little darling.
You might have the children spanking the teachers.
Sometimes happens that way, and school's not so very far from here. Mr. Justice Linden, what a job he has. It's worse than mine. Time for one segment of calls to Mr. Justice Linden after the break. At least the public and not only lawyers are being consulted on the Law Reform Commission, because lawyers are in the business of complicating laws to make money. Is that a nasty remark?
It's nasty. Yes, it is.
You know the cynical view we have of the system.
No.
You-
The cynical view you have of the
Yeah,
system?
we,
You
many
wouldn't have a
people.
cynical view.
Not a cynical bone in my body. Go ahead to Mr. Justice Linden. Come on.
Yes, I have three quick questions.
Right.
And the first one is, do you see any resolve to the uniformity in post-conviction judgments? That's one. And do you see a trend to decriminalization and downgrading of offenses because of the exorbitant cost of imprisonment and the expense for counsel?
Right.
And the third one, is there a concern that the judiciary are exercising too much innovation in sentencing with respect to precedent and constitution, i.e. the South Carolina case with respect to the rapist having an option of 30 years or castration? I will hang up and listen.
Good. Let's take that one first. That's the kind of judgment we'd never see in this country. Am I correct, sir?
Probably. Probably so. But on the sentencing issue, there are some proposals coming into Parliament to try and regularize a little bit the sentencing, to try and make it a little more uniform and a little more standard. The second question has to do with decriminalization, and this is something that we're very much in favor of in the Law Reform Commission. Do you know it costs $40,000 a year to keep a person in a maximum security prison in this country? And some of them obviously are required to be kept there, but there are others of the 10,000 who might be allowed to be in halfway houses on probation and things like that. And if we could save that kind of money, I think we ought to do it.
Are you going to consult the judges on the resentment of a reasonable number over the fact that they give a sentence and whammo, the parole board takes away their authority far too soon, they think, in some circumstances?
Well, again,
Fixed
that's a
sentencing.
difficult question. I'm not sure I'm in favor of fixed sentences because there are so many different circumstances, and you really need to give a lot of discretion, I think.
Go ahead to Mr. Justice Linden.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
That's you.
Yes, I'd like to ask Justice Linden if he can express an opinion about psychiatric patients that are hostile and combative, and because of their aggression, being kept and incarcerated in jail rather than in the hospital because they're too...
Yes, we've got the message, ma'am. It happens sometimes in British Columbia. That's a matter of administration, is it?
Yes, it's a difficult question, and we're trying to sort that out, and there's a study again coming before Parliament fairly soon on that.
On that particular aspect?
Yes.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Jack?
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to direct and recite a case to Mr. Justice Linden.
I don't want the whole case. I want a question.
Okay, well, you really can't. I can't ask the question until I recite the case.
Well, try me. If it's too long, I'll cut you
All
off.
right, I'm an individual, a reasonably successful businessman, and in 1975 was charged with one count of fraud and theft over $200. In 1981, the case was stayed. There was never a preliminary hearing. I went through 5 different prosecutors, and needless to say, it was a horror scene for me and my family. That was based on an information laid by an RCMP constable who was, at that time, I believe, 19 or 20 years of age. And needless to say, the situation was devastating for me and my family. It hit the newspapers, and I believe Mr. Justice Linden made reference to this in the start of your program.
Yes.
I'd like to solicit his response, and I'll hang up and listen.
That's a fascinating case. Take his facts as correct. 75 charged theft, was it? Over 250. 81 stayed. 5 prosecutors. Name and paper. Family perhaps ruined, who knows?
This is a problem of delay and lack of good administration, and we've got to try and fix that. It just isn't good enough. If a person is guilty, we should know it quickly. If he's not guilty, he should be let go quickly.
That man has no remedy against the Crown, has he? Really?
At present, there's really no remedy. It's just one of those things. We trust the Crown to do these things, and sometimes they don't do them well, and it's unfortunate. But many people suffer greatly for long periods of time with no remedy.
Could there not be a limit in the law? I believe there are in some countries or some places, whereby a case must go ahead within X months or X days or be dropped.
Yes. Yes, well, this is one of the things that are in the package that's coming before Parliament, a 6-month limit. That
I would ask that caller this morning to write to the Law Reform Commission in Ottawa, or go to the meeting tonight, and give one of the judge's staff details of that case.
The meeting is Monday night.
Monday night. Yeah. That's a horror story, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very sympathetic.
Seashell, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Justice Linden, Jack. I was involved with agriculture for many years when a Canadian had the legal right to go into the field of farming and freely produce food for the benefit of himself and his family and his country.
And what's the question?
I saw that freedom be a legal thing for many, many years, and then along came marketing boards, which I know you're very familiar with, that took away a man's right to do this. And
hold on a second.
Constitution, it was my understanding that originally under the BNA Act that a man did have the legal right to go farming and produce what he wanted and the free right to sell it where he wants. And did Trudeau, in order to legalize marketing boards, change this in the new Constitution?
That's a constitutional question.
It's not in the Constitution. It's an economic decision. The effort to regularize the marketing of goods has taken away some freedoms, and it's unfortunate, but the Parliament of Canada has decided this is the way to market those things.
Yeah, and like it or lump it, the law is a law.
The law is a law. Get a different government or get a different member of Parliament and try and change it, but the judges have no power over that.
My thanks to you, Mr. Justice Linden. 7:30 Monday night in the law courts. Say your piece in law reform, loud and clear. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What's next? May Gutteridge, after the break. On this occasion, I am officially Grandpa Webster, and I am Santa's little helper. And I am down at Santa's Gastown workshop, where there are some beautiful toys and items which, in payments of small sums of money, will help you fill the Christmas goodies for your family, the stockings, etc. And I'm here because I came down to pay my annual tribute to May Gutteridge. And as I turn around, you shall see me march into the Gastown workshop of this particular Santa, who is under the auspices of St. James Social Service. And you just watch this. I have a very special surprise for you inside too. Very special surprise at a much cheaper price than you can buy anywhere else downtown. And we're not going to call it a Cabbage Patch doll. It's a Gastown doll, but that's a little surprise. Let's go and meet May. And here she is. Hello, May.
Hello, Dr. Webster.
Oh, Dr. Webster, thank you very much. How nice to see you.
Nice
Merry
to see
Christmas,
you.
Merry Christmas.
You were selling you a hat, are we? That's better. That's better.
How much is my hat, by the way?
$5.
$5.
Yes.
We've got to pay sales tax in here?
No, we're a
charity.
Charity.
Now,
That's right.
I happen not to have finished my Christmas shopping yet, and I understand, excuse me, said he, crossing the camera, that you have some very special objects on sale which remind me of objects I can buy elsewhere at very expensive prices.
Yes, we have the Gastown baby.
You're calling it the Gastown baby?
Oh, yes, Gastown baby.
Bears an astonishing resemblance to Cabbage Patch.
Oh, yes, but this is ours. This is handmade with loving hands, not
Yeah.
in a factory.
And have you got thousands of them hidden in boxes in the back?
No, we take orders.
Orders?
Yes, with a down payment. With a deposit.
How much is that Gastown baby?
$25. May the Lord forgive me.
$25, may the Lord forgive you.
I'm no good at selling.
You are so too.
No.
If you got a few of these that you can deliver before Christmas.
Oh, sure, we could deliver them before Christmas.
If you get the orders now, you'll deliver them before Christmas.
Yes, we will.
And you don't have to queue up in any messy department store.
No, no. And they're all made with loving hands.
All right, now, and who made these beautiful things?
Well, this is a little... What is the lady's name that made these? Mendica? Yes. Mendica. And she's from Czechoslovakia, and she makes one every time she comes in. Aren't they marvelous? Look at that.
How much are they?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. How much are they?
$15.
Oh, it tells you on here.
Oh, yes,
$15.
we set the prices as we go.
Yes, and these, of course, are marvelous. So much nicer than your drugstore ones, you see.
And they're only
$4.50.
$4.50 for a real Santa Claus stocking for your child to hang at the mantelpiece. So it's the night before Christmas, etc., etc., etc.
That's right.
We've got lots of these.
Yes.
I understand the last time I was here, you had a Russian quilts.
We did. We only have 2 quilts today, which are single. We only have 2 left on sale today.
How much?
That one's 70.
70.
Yes.
$70.
Yes.
But they're beautiful handmade quilts
Yes.
filled with down.
No, they're filled with hollow fill.
What's hollow fill?
Well, it's a new thing that I researched because it's cool when you're cool, need to be cool and it's hot. It's beautiful stuff. It's much better than down.
$70.
Yeah.
331 Powell Street.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
It's not...
Can you get that continental quilt out?
No, we don't need to see the continental quilt. You're overdoing it as usual, mate.
Oh, don't sit. Don't be unkind.
Can we take a walk down your workshop?
Please do, yes.
Okay. Now, May Gutteridge, this young lady's name, please?
This is Delia. I call her Anna because when she was first introduced to me, she was Anna.
Anna.
This is Dr. Webster.
Where are you from, Anna?
El Salvador.
El Salvador. How long ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes.
You escaped 2 years ago. Hey, do you like it here?
Yes, I like.
Good. And she's working here full time, kind of, is she?
Yes, she has a husband and a child, and she left a little boy behind. And St. James Social Service raised the money, and we got her a Canadian San Salvadorian to go in and get the little boy, but he was lost, and we were very frightened about it, but however, he came out via Mexico with her little boy. So it was a wonderful thing.
So you got the little boy, too?
Yes, I have 3 boys.
3 boys?
She's had another one since she's been here.
It's 4 boys?
No, 3 altogether.
3.
3 altogether?
Yes.
But we had Omar, who we got out, which we're very proud
You were
about.
involved in very many things. This gentleman here is teasing wool.
That's right. Ready for the weaving. Mm-hmm.
Weaving. This lady here.
She's weaving. She's weaving. Yes. She's
Hi.
Yeah.
You speak English? No English.
No,
Just a little bit of English. She's weaving.
Yes.
And you are knitting.
Right. No,
Crocheting.
Crochet.
Crochet. Very nice. And what are you doing,
This
ma'am?
lady can't hear you, but she's doing it. Good. Yeah.
Famous blue nose and hooking and blue nose yarn. The 3 little pigs.
Yes.
Well, May, we won't interrupt you. Oh, no, we've got to see my old friend.
Yes, you've got to see your old friend.
Haven't seen you since a couple of years ago.
Yep, that's right.
Your name?
Bob Newman.
Bobby boy, what are you doing today?
Latch hooking and a rug.
And when did you learn this?
Oh, I've known it for quite a few years now.
Quite happy? Getting by all right?
Yes.
Where do you live in these days?
Well, we're at 590 Alexander.
It's a nice new apartment.
Nice new apartment at 590 Alexander.
Except it's too small.
Oh,
Too small.
The BC Housing Foundation put it up. It's very nice.
Thanks very much. Best of luck. Okay.
And this is our weaving room.
That's right. Remember that.
And this is our new weaving room because we've just built a laundromat down the end and we've moved the weaving along to here.
You are going concern. Now let's go and see your magnificent new, what do you call it?
Cooper Place.
Cooper Place. Wilberforce Cooper Place. This way, please.
Just let me get my coat.
Take the coat, by all means. You are looking at the end of an 18-year dream, the fulfillment of an 18-year dream. I'm standing with my favorite social worker, May Gutteridge of St. James Social Service, at the corner of Gore and East Cordova. And I just passed the other day and I thought, who built this fancy San Francisco type apartment block here? And you and St. James Social Service did.
Yes.
Point up and tell me what I can see from here.
Well, you've got 3 floors, eh, Chris? 3 floors. And how many rooms on a floor, Carol?
24.
Come on in.
24 rooms on a floor.
May I insist on producing everything.
Yes.
Your name, please?
Carol Sidness.
Carol what?
Sidness.
Sidness. And your name, sir?
Chris Saunders.
Chris Saunders. Now start your interviewing, please. I'll stand by and be quiet.
How many? We have 24 rooms on each floor.
That's right. They're all single rooms with a bathroom per room.
Yes.
Which is a real delight.
And on every floor there's sitting areas and all kinds of walking space.
Well, now let me ask the questions, because after all, I am the reporter, not you. You're the social worker.
All right.
What is this precisely? Is this a hospital unit?
It's an intermediate care facility.
For people?
Long-term care.
Long-term chronic care.
That's right.
And when do you open and start to take patients?
We hope to start taking patients on December the 12th.
December the 12th this week, almost. Next week.
Right. That's right. Next Monday.
Now, if I can walk in front of you and get back to May Gutteridge. When was the start of the dream?
Oh, 18 years and more ago. Because here there was a parking lot and 2 houses, and we owned 3 lots out of the 4. And the church had the control of the lots, and I nagged them until they eventually put it on a lease to us, and so we built this. But the church and the people that have given money to the church have all been very generous, and it's all been joined together to produce this.
And where did you get the big sums of money?
Oh, the federal government.
How much?
5.2 million.
Provincial government?
They do the running costs. They pay all the bills every month.
And is this for people from this area?
Yes, it's for anybody, of course, but specifically for people from this area.
And where did the people who were going to use this facility, where did they live before? Chronic care homes all over the place?
Oh, no, they lived in their own little rooms or in another boarding house, and they've got to the point when they need this kind of care.
And why is it called the Wilberforce Cooper House Care Society?
Well, because we had to form a special society for this project, and Wilberforce Cooper was the priest that developed St. James, shall I say, into what it is, and he was here for 30 years, and everybody knew Father Cooper.
So
everybody. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a little story. Which
Tell me
you
a
will
little
love.
story. I love it.
One day, Father Cooper got a call to say, would he go down to the pawnbrokers? There's a present there for him. So he went down to the pawnbrokers, and there was 2 candlesticks wrapped in newspaper. And a lady of the street had seen them, recognized them as being stolen from St. James Church, and she bought them and left them there for him to pick up. He accepted everybody. He was a saintly man. He didn't judge you, he loved you. And this is what we hope this place will be.
Are the candlesticks back in the church?
Yes.
Now, May, I want you to take me now to, where is it? Your homemakers.
We're going to the Pensioners Club.
The Pensioners Club. No, we're going to the Homemakers Club.
No, that's the Pensioners Club.
Oh,
okay, thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Much obliged. Well, now, May, let's find out what's going on today in the meeting room for...
Homemakers.
Homemakers.
Yes.
You first.
The homemaker of the month for October of '82 was Linda Chow.
Thank you.
Homemaker of the month for December of '82 was Verda Dowd.
Thank you very much.
Now, if I may interrupt, I've discovered another of May Gutteridge and St. James Social Service activities. They go on forever. They're like an octopus.
Oh.
A good octopus around the country. We walked in here for some reason, and I find how many people are in this room now?
About 30.
Can we walk around and tell me who are these people?
These are St. James homemakers. And this was started in 1962, but in January 78, when the provincial government started a homemaking program, we plugged right into it. And we have one of the best homemaking groups in Vancouver.
And these women all go out and look after?
People in their homes, that's right.
They feed them?
Do anything that has to be done for them. They bath them, they get their laundry done.
What's your name?
On phone.
What about a handshake? Again?
On Four is my name.
And yours?
Kill No.
You only look 15 or 16. How old are you?
I'm 26 years
20,
old.
26?
Yeah.
What kind of homemaking do you do? What kind of work do you do as a homemaker?
I do personal care and laundry and cleaning, and I operate all the
Good.
equipment.
Come on round with me, May. I want to meet some more of these people. This lady here, your name?
Chen Chiu, my name
And doctor?
Lu Wang.
And you're from China?
But I'm not doctor now. I'm a homemaker now.
For the moment. Maybe you'll be a doctor again one day soon, eh?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? We can't speak to everybody. Pretty white dress?
She's one of our field supervisors. She goes and checks on everybody to make sure they're doing their stuff.
So you're out every day checking on the homemakers?
And asking for complaints from residents, you know, from the home people.
I didn't know you ran
Right.
this kind of thing. These people are all paid by?
Well, under the long-term care program. We get so much an hour for all we do, and we pay all our expenses, and all homemaking groups had to apply for the job under the new tender system because of the new restraint program. So we've applied, and we hope that our program will be accepted. I think it will, because I think we're probably the cheapest one in Vancouver.
Yeah, but it still costs an awful lot of money, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. I don't know, how much do we get? How much is an hour, our rate now? $9.96 an
That's
hour,
it.
and that we have to do everything out of that. Pay them.
$9.93.
No,
You have to pay them, take the administration off. And do they get a half-decent wage, May?
I don't know. You have to ask them. Do you want to say what you get?
How much you get paid?
I get paid $6.75 an hour.
$6.75 an hour?
Yes.
And you'll do how many hours a day?
Approximately 8 hours.
8 hours a day. You've been here a while. You're the homemaker of the month for, what was it, September?
December.
December. I didn't meet you before. Name?
Hi, Mrs. Hazel Polk.
Hazel Polk.
Hello.
Your name?
Edith McKay.
Edith Mackay. Your name?
Deborah Knack-Knackin.
And do you look after handicapped people or just old people?
This is a Knack-Knackin from the North Country. She's the famous Indian family.
Knack-Knackin.
Yes, yes.
Good. And sitting on the steps, the glamour girl.
Julia Maru.
Julia what?
Maru.
Maru. And what kind of people do you look after in homemaking?
Handicapped people and elderly people, and so on.
Where does your lovely accent come from? Spanish?
No.
What?
I'm Italian.
Italian? Close enough, eh? Now, there was some more here.
Yes, here was, sorry, the ladies that you met coming over.
Oh, we're not round to them yet. Gentlemen in the back, they can just tell us, what do you do, sir?
I'm the field supervisor of homemakers.
And you, sir?
James Lam.
He's a homemaker.
Homemaker. You look after old men?
Yes.
And you?
Yeah, I come from Vietnam. I look for the handicapped and old people.
Good. And ladies, it's nice to meet all of you. You can just show me the faces, including the other doctor. Are you from China too?
Eva.
Your name?
Eva.
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 Eva. Eva. Eva.
Chang.
Chang.
We'll call you Mrs. Chen. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Chen.
I have one special lady. That I
One
want to meet
special
you.
lady.
Yes. Here she is. This is my pride and joy. Hi. She came to me as a little girl dropped out of grade 11.
I'm blushing.
No, she's done wonders. And I said, you got to work for your living. We used to have our quarrels, didn't we?
Sure did.
Your name?
But now she's the office supervisor. How about that?
Very good indeed.
Isn't that lovely? And she's a very good worker, isn't she? Yeah.
Well,
We're very,
ladies-
very proud.
Good. Thank you very much, ladies. I'm being dragged around by Mrs. Gutteridge, and we now have to go to the triage whether we want to or not.
Oh, that's...
Thank you very much. My very special thanks to May Gutteridge. Unfortunately, we filmed the triage, but we haven't got time, May, to use it this morning. I have a few commitments I've got to do. But buy your Christmas presents at 331 Powell Street. Do you hear me? What's next? Oh, yes. What's next? Take a break, Emma. I'm happy to tell you this is my last live show between now and January 3. I go on holiday and you get stuck with the best of Webster. Some of them are quite good, but I do a thing called walkabouts, which some of you like and some of you don't. But here's just a little kind of light piece on Webster walking about. Hey, instant roll. Well, I found myself in some unusual situations in my life.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
A very helpless feeling.
Portable 1 to control, over. Would you access BA02, over?
Did they come walking in your office nude? I got a work around here and I got a women hanging around.
I'm never nude in the office.
Well, it shouldn't be allowed. Are you chewing snuff?
You chewing snuff? Don't be silly.
Oh, woman, don't treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go. That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Well, you know, I'm on General Hospital doing a little editorial in the afternoons, and I hate to interrupt all your sex.
You do?
Yeah.
Of course, it was a wee bit sexy for me. I didn't understand parts of it. Was that
you
my
didn't?
problem?
Well, I know what. When you go in, we'll give you a little book so you can understand what they're talking about.
What part do you play? Said he, making a rough guess of what it might be.
A teacher, sir.
I'm saying, please, please.
You want me to liberate you, do you, Jack?
Tell me, are you liberated? I've never been so humiliated, mortified.
The road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Watch Webster at 9 a.m. precisely. And if you think this is how we do things in Glasgow in 1981, oh boy, are you wrong, old buckwheat.
Shut up, Brother Jack. I'll be back. I'm the handsome, the cultured one, the sensitive one.
You'll be back when?
Right after this break. What are you laughing at?
Not so much noise there. Call it. Call it. You'll ruin it. You'll ruin it if you're too noisy. If you don't shut up, I'll clout you.
Okay, all right.
Don't think I couldn't. Okay, let's hear it, man. Come on.
Now, baby, listen, baby, don't you treat me this away, 'cause I'll be back on my feet someday. Don't care if you do, 'cause it's understood. You ain't got no money, you just ain't no good. Well, I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go. That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Nice to meet you, Lyle. You know my name?
No, I don't actually, but I recognize your face. Who's Jack Webster?
He makes a couple of $100,000 a year, and he doesn't know very much.
And my guest today is Jack Webster. You can ask him anything you want, except about energy policy, but keep it short and stupid.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more.
Well,
don't you come back no more.
What you said?
Don't you come back no more.
I didn't understand.
Don't you come back no more.
We've been waiting for
Why have you been waiting for me?
Because we heard you're the life of the party.
A home-built, head to your bed, Doug baby. She was such a struggle. Well, that was terrific. Steve Wyatt and Cliff. What's Cliff's last name? Larando. Big fella. Looks like an ex-policeman, but he's not. Put that together.
Yeah.
Got some very nice people that work with me, I'll tell you. Fortunately, very talented. I have a suspicion something is going to happen now. I can see in my monitor that somebody's behind my back. And I'm afraid to turn around because I know what it is. It's that Fred Martin, that no smoking freak. Good morning. Oh.
Turkey, go turkey.
It's a cold turkey.
That's right.
It's a cold turkey.
That's right.
Your name, ma'am?
Lila McCormick.
Lila, you're a magnificent singer, an opera singer, of course.
Yes.
And you were prevailed upon by Stinky here, by
Right.
Dr. Bass, my friend.
That's right.
We have a song.
What's my song?
Lila, sing it.
Sing the song, Lila.
Jack, my daddy, you're a daddy. Really, it's no joke. You get to... Oh, sorry, dear.
Start it again.
Yeah.
Start it again.
Jack, my
daddy, you're a baddie. Really, it's no joke.
You've got to change and to arrange to stop the way you smoke. There is no good in no understood in tar and nicotine. And if you will continue still on the tube, you'll not be seen. You cough and wheeze and spoil the breeze with smoke so thick and dense. You spoil the air and we despair. For us there's no defense. But what is worse, there is a curse on what he does to you. Please, will you decease and please decrease is our Christmas wish for you.
Oh, Lila, that was lovely. And Fred, honest to goodness, I'm getting there.
Okay.
January 11, cold turkey. Lila, very many thanks indeed.
Oh, thank you. The last time I saw you, I danced with you.
Where was that?
Oh, at the big do at the Italian Cultural Center. You know.
Oh, yes.
Robbie Burns.
Robbie, when I was given the address to the police.
That's
the
right.
police.
That's right.
Fred, very
You look
many
marvelous.
thanks. Merry
You look
Christmas.
wonderful.
Doing my best. I'm away down.
Okay.
January 11, cold.
And this is your turkey. We'll take it outside for you.
I am the turkey. Thank you. Go to break and come up with Klondike Kate. Another very special guest this morning whom I asked to come. Met her first 10 years ago. Klondike Kate, Gillian Campbell. Come on in that gorgeous outfit and tell me what it is when you sit down.
There you are.
What a beautiful dress.
Thank you.
And Gillian, I'll call you Kate. No, I'll call you Gillian.
Okay.
Gillian, what is it?
That is a Yukon, a cabin.
It's a log cabin.
A logging cabin from the Yukon.
Covered in...
Thank you.
Careful there, Freddie.
I liked it. I liked it.
Covered in snow. You know why I asked you to come this morning?
Thank you.
Because I saw the piece in the 8 million circulation magazine Sunday of the Sunday Express, in which this. Can we get that shot? Have we got it anywhere? Can we get that shot? That's Kate saying happy birthday to Prince Charlie outside Buckingham Palace. She knows Charlie and Diana. What was the occasion for the picture there? Because I remember you entertained Charlie and Diana in Edmonton last
That's right.
year.
Well, I was lucky because all the media in England were sort of excited because I'd come from Ruislip Manor in England, and I had a phone call from the Sunday magazine, and Mr. William Hall, who wrote that article, and said, we'd like to invite you over to England, all expenses paid. Air Canada flew me first class. It was just super. I felt like Lady Muck there, I did.
You
it
look
was
like
just
it
lovely.
too, yeah.
Holding up like a dog's dinner.
Yeah.
It was great. Can I just tell you who made my outfit?
Yes,
'Cause
please.
I have a very, very beautiful wardrobe, and Ray Buchanan, my dear friend, and his friend Russ Wright, they make the necklaces, and they do everything for me, and they're so talented.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
But then you were chatting up Charlie and Diana in Edmonton. When was it? Last year?
Yes, they were through to Edmonton. We had a big, barbecue. And when I was asked to sing there, truthfully, I didn't meet them. But they weren't too far away from me. In fact, just where that gentleman sitting there. And Diane has the most hypnotic eyes, Princess Diane. She's a beautiful woman. And she just, in fact, she was edging him on all the time.
You're doing not too bad yourself this morning. You look gorgeous. How many sets of eyelashes have you got on?
It's funny you should ask that. Or half a dozen, you know.
You're very busy these days. You're
I've been
singing in
lucky.
Victoria when?
Oh, it's for the Chamber of Commerce. I'm flying over straight from here.
You're not taking them a gingerbread cake,
No,
are you?
only you, because you're special.
Oh, that's great. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Oh, and the same to you, and the best to your wife, too.
Thank you very much indeed. And who knows, we might perform together again. Have we got pictures of those?
We do, actually, when we were
Are they
over
up?
in England the last
No
time.
slides? No slides.
Oh, that's too bad.
Of Kate and I, Gillian Campbell and I, singing and dancing at Heathrow Airport in London. many
That's
years
right,
ago,
Skyline.
And also in White Horse.
That's right, and also at the Timber Club a little while ago.
At the Timber Club.
He got up on the stage.
The
and
only reason I go to the Timber Club is to hear you sing.
do you remember what we did? That just when that went. Oh, we likes a little bit in the morning. Woo! He does too.
Thanks, Gillian. Now,
Thank you.
I have a little piece of business which I must do here involving the child of one of my very good staff, Mark Schneider. I hope I'm introducing this right, but it's a little, nice little Christmassy thing. Merry Christmas, Jack.
Right.
That was delightful. Your little daughter Anna was left front in
Yeah,
the
the one in
second
the red blouse with the white on the...
What school is that?
It's at Strathcona School, and she goes to the daycare there, New Puitak.
And these are all virtually, how many non-Chinese kids in the class?
In that class, I think there's 3, and out of about 25.
Is it correct, Schneider, that your children are now fluent, your 2 children are now fluent in Chinese?
You know, I don't know if you noticed that, but when she comes home from school, she can really talk Chinese. Like, she can count and say all sorts of things, and on that, she was just not doing anything.
But isn't that wonderful?
Just when, you know, your parents are around, you just clam up.
It makes you realize and appreciate the mix in the culture, doesn't it?
She's enjoying it.
Well, it's been a good year, Mark.
Yep,
Thanks to you and many others, including, of course, my co-producer, the intrepid Wyatt, who spends many a weary hour fitting bits and pieces together to make sense of them. Is that not correct?
Sense of you, anyway.
Make sense of me.
By the way, I brought you a present today.
You brought me a present.
Do you remember the time that you gave Sven Robinson a little bit of trouble for not standing up for Margaret Thatcher?
Yeah.
I just want you to know that he has some respect for the monarchy, at least. In his last Robinson report, he has Lady Di and Prince Charles on the cover of his...
Robinson?
So is he redeemed in your eyes now?
No, that's a cheap publicity stunt for which we have fallen.
Oh, I see.
The Sven Robinson report. Wouldn't stand up for Margaret Thatcher. Puts Charles and Di on his cover. Isn't that incredible? Well, what have you got lined up for January the 3rd?
Bill Cake.
No, don't tell me. I don't want to know, because you may commit me. We don't want to be committed. Mind you, see, everybody knows that we have such a wonderful time in this job. There's nothing to it.
Riotous.
We just come in the morning at 6 o'clock. We get guests by magic.
That's right.
They show up, they line up at the door.
That's right, they line up at the door, and we treat them cavalierly. Spell cavalierly. No, don't bother.
How do you spell it in American?
And then, of course, we do 90 minutes of chuckles, and we're finished for the day.
Piece of cake.
Off to the golf course.
What's so bad about this job anyway?
Well, I don't want to bring up any personalities involved in my staff, but you see, one of the problems with Mark was that we had to de-brainwash him.
That was supposed to be a secret.
No, you know what he was before he came. Don't say
No, I won't,
Don't say what he was before he came here. That's right.
Not a word. But it starts now.
It starts with a C and ends with a C.
Yeah,
and there's a B in the middle.
Right.
But he's coming along quite well.
Yeah.
He really is. No, to you and Ellingson and Liz Monroe and Linda and Cliff and everybody on the crew and the stage and whatnot, I want to say a very special thank you. Another segment through.
Yep.
That's enough. Say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jack. Have a good one.
Good. Have a good one. That's a clumsy way to say Merry Christmas. I'll be back after break. Last live show of this particular segment of our season, which means for the next 3 weeks you're going to get Best of Webster at 9 a.m. precisely. Not the full 3 weeks, just my normal broadcast days. I think we lose one for one of the statutory holidays. But I think you'll enjoy the Best of Webster. And I thank you very much indeed for the help and support I get from my audience and all my friends in town. So it's a bit early to say it, but Merry Christmas and a good New Year. I'll be back. I'll be back. Well, I found myself in some unusual situations in my life.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more. What you say? Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
A very helpless feeling.
Portable 1 to control, over. Would you access BA02, over?
Did they come walking in your office nude? I got to work around here and I got women hanging around.
I'm never nude in the office.
Well, it shouldn't be allowed. Are you chewing snuff?
You chewing snuff? Don't be silly.
Oh, woman, don't treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go. That's right, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
Fun on the Webster Show and check at midnight.